Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the By the Minute Mixed Martial Arts Show. We are here on Friday, the 31st of March, 1 week before UFC 210. And on the main card of UFC 210, we have Pearl Gonzalez fighting Cynthia Calvillo. And Pearl's been kind enough to join us on the show. How are you today?
I am doing amazing. Thank you.
So I was going to ask you just about when you were signed to the UFC, because the strange thing about this fight is, if I'm right, you were actually signed to the UFC before Cynthia, even though she's had a fight and this is going to be the second one. It was about end of January time. What was that like when you finally got the call?
Oh my gosh. So I got signed actually the end of December, and I was training in California, had no idea. My head coach here in Chicago called me and I heard my phone ring. I was training and I was like, my phone rang again. And I was like, that's interesting. No one really calls me twice in a row. And then he called my other coach in California, Manolo, and Manolo answers his phone. He had his music on, so obviously it disrupted our class. And he's like, yeah, she's here. Hold on. And I'm like looking at him, and he was like, it's Alex, and it's my coach. My coach is like, who's the best coach ever? Who's the best coach ever? Who just got you signed? And I was like, what? And like couldn't believe it for a second. And then I cried. I started crying because this has been such a long journey for me, such a long, hard-earned journey for me. I've been going at this and pursuing a big stage like this for the last 10 years. And so to finally get that recognition that I get the opportunity to fight in the UFC, it was a lifelong dream come true for me.
Yeah, it was fantastic news when I heard you'd been signed as well. The one thing that kind of surprised me a little bit, looking at where you fought, and it's no disrespect to the places where you've been, but did you ever get any contact for Invicta? I thought Invicta would have been all over you, to be honest.
Yes, we had several calls, several different organizations, several times, but I had one goal and one goal only, and that was the UFC. And so we didn't want to commit to any contracts. We wanted to take one fight at a time and build myself, build my skills, build to where I'm comfortable at this weight cut, and get everything kind of in line so that when I was in the big stage, I was ready to go.
Excellent. So yeah, that was something I did wonder, but like you say, taking it a step at a time, not committing too much makes absolute sense. So, just going back through your career, obviously you turned pro a few years ago, but if I'm right, you've been competing in combat sports pretty much your entire life. Is that correct?
Yes, I have been. I had my first pancreation fight when I was 11 years old.
Right.
And I competed quite often when I was young. From like 11 to 15, I was competing in pancreation, jiu-jitsu, judo. I did kickboxing back then. And then I took a break and kind of did my own thing, lived my life. And then at 21, I came back to the sport, and I've been consistent since then.
Yeah. So obviously, one thing that always interests me is quite often when someone makes their pro debut and it doesn't go well, that person can kind of be thrown onto the scrap heap. But you couldn't have reacted better to that. Now losing your pro debut and then ripping off 6 straight wins. When you lose your first pro fight, though, is there a moment of doubt that comes in, or is it just one of those things where it's get back on a horse and show why I'm here?
I think at first, yeah, absolutely. I think I had to go through and process the whole fight. That loss was a close one. You know, I could have took that fight. It was back and forth. Looking back, watching the fight today, I definitely did lose. I did not do enough to take that win. And so for at first, as the emotions were brand new, yes, it was tough on me, and I was like, this sucks. And then I took some time to recompose myself and refocus and know, like, I knew where I had made the mistakes. And so the only thing I could do with that is take that and learn. And so today, that was one of my best fights ever because I gained so much experience. Muna Holland was already a vet. She was experienced. I could tell she was more dedicated in different ways that I wasn't. And so I took all of that and utilized that to my ability.
So yeah, what after that? Obviously, as we said, 6 wins in a row. The most high profile one in terms of who people know now would be your second pro win, which was the title win over Courtney Casey. And I went back and watched that fight this week, and it was a great fight to watch as a grappling fan, to be honest. The first 2 rounds she probably edged, but in the third round you came out you came out all guns blazing, and the transition to get the armbar was really, really sweet. Was that like your proudest moment so far in terms of in the
Um,
cage?
No, so that was it was my biggest fight. It was actually my third pro fight, and it was the biggest profile. I won a world title for that. Courtney Casey was amazing and came out, transitioned amazing and did such a great job on the ground, and I made a lot of mistakes. So with that fight, I took so much home. I gained so much experience again and learned so much about myself. Me being predominantly a grappler at that time, I learned I had a lot of holes in my grappling game. So I did take that home and I utilized that, and I've become an even better grappler today. But it also taught me that I needed to round out my skills, and there were other areas that also needed to be worked, because there are girls that are going to be just as good, if not better, in grappling than I am. And so when that happens, I have to be able to, how do you want to say it, like, not transition, but be able to change the fight where the fight is, if I find myself in trouble on the ground like that, instead of just keep going back to something like that. So it was a big adjustment is the word I was looking for. So it was definitely big for me. It also helped me grow as a fighter. I think the stage was pretty big. It was on national television. You know, Casey, watching her today now, she's done amazing in the UFC. She's doing a great job, very exciting fighter. So I always use that, knowing like if she can do it, I can do it, kind of that mentality with her being there. And so, yeah, that was a big fight for me. I would say one of my biggest fights, though, most proud fights, would probably have been my sixth fight, and that I got a head kick and I dropped her. I finished the fight with a TKO, but I utilized my stand-up and got to show how hard I've been working. So on the on my striking. So I would say that would be one of my proudest moments. It was the first time making 115. So, but Casey, yes, Casey was a great fight.
Yeah, it was an excellent fight going back to watch it as well. So yeah, so looking forward to Cynthia Calvillo. I think that a lot of people watched what she did at UFC 209 and thought that was kind of a star-making performance. And I've noticed on the schedule they've put you third from the top as well, so they're obviously going all in on Cynthia for this fight. So this, in a way, is a fantastic opportunity to kind of take all that for yourself in your debut. Is that how you're looking at this fight?
Absolutely. I am such a big fan. I was watching 209, and I saw her. She did such a great job. She came in, she looked so comfortable and had a great time in that fight. And I admire that about her. She looked very tough. She is a good grappler, a strong grappler. Looks very strong mentally in there. And this is a great fight for me, because my bread and butter, my most comfortable, my where my I feel I am the strongest is my grappling. So, but today that's not all that I can bring to the table. I have striking, I have wrestling, and I have transitions as well. So I'm very excited about this fight. She does have a lot of steam and looks great right now, and so this is the perfect opportunity for me to show the world, now that all eyes on her, are just how good I am.
Yeah, I really like this fight as well. Just when I saw it booked, because it was like obviously after her performance at 209, it's kind of like who's she going to get matched up with? This is going to be quite interesting. And I'd spoken to you by that point as well, and you didn't have anything booked at the time, so it was like kind of wondering what was going to happen. Then when I saw it put together, I thought that just makes perfect sense, to be honest. So
I
def-
agree.
definitely looking forward to the fight, and it's great that it's on pay per view as well. I think that's definitely a
Yes.
ringing endorsement. So, yeah. One thing to get away a little bit from MMA, because I'm always interested in this. I'm a bit of a baseball geek, and obviously you live in Chicago. What was that like in November?
Oh my God. So I was in California at the time. I was so mad. I have my family. So my family is crazy, because I have a ginormous family. Half of them are Sox fans, half of them are Cubs fans. So like all through my social media, I see all the Sox fans that are all butthurt and upset, and like putting all these memes about the Cubs, how they're gonna lose, and then I see how happy my other side of my family is, that for the Cubs, and like my great grandma, who is like, very a big plays a big role in our life, was such a huge Cubs fan. She actually owned a little taco shop in Wrigleyville back in
Right.
the day. And so, everybody, she's always believed in them. She's such a big fan. So like my family made shirts with her with the Cubs. It was such a huge, like I had family crying because it was like, grandma's here with us. Grandma helped them get to the World Series, you know. And so it looked like so much fun. I was bummed that I was in California training hard, but it was amazing. I'm actually excited to go to a Cubs game this summer.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, even for me, like full disclosure, I'm a Phillies fan, so that used to be great. It's not great anymore. But waiting for the Cubs to win the World Series was one of those things that I really, really wanted to see, and it was amazing last year, to be honest. And one thing I really liked was that I saw people outside Wrigley writing the names of their relatives who didn't live to see the day, and I thought the amazing thing about that is that's their way of kind of letting them share the experience, but also everybody who's a Cubs fan shared in that experience together for the first time, and I thought that was absolutely amazing.
It was so cool, and they had like 4 million people in Chicago for that parade when they won, and it was amazing to see kind of my city is always being frowned upon right now because of crime, and then to see it highlighted and see so much positivity in that, and how so many people just came together for that. It was a great experience for me, you know, lifelong. I've been in Chicago, and I love Chicago. Like, if the Sox are doing great, awesome. If the Cubs are doing amazing, great. Like, I'm just a Chicago fan. I love all Chicago teams. Anything that represents Chicago, I'm all for. So it was super cool to watch that, and then see the feedback that they got from the city was even more amazing to me.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it, to be honest, and that was a lot of late nights, but I'm used to it with MMA, so that's fine. So next week we kind of covered it a little bit. What kind of fight do you expect, and do you have any thoughts on how you think it's going to go?
You know, I am so prepared in every area that this fight goes, whether it be in the striking, the wrestling, the grappling. I am ready. I'm so excited to showcase my skills. I don't know when this fight will end, whether it be the first round, the third round. One thing I do know for sure is my hand will be raised at the end of this fight.
Yeah. So you're in Chicago just now, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you'll be going, but it's Bellator tonight in Chicago, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've actually got several teammates on the card. On the undercard. I've got about 6 of my teammates that are fighting on this card, and I wish I could go, but I am fasting and preparing for my weight cut, and I'm going to be home resting and watching from home.
Fair dues. Who's winning the main event?
I got to give it to Rampage. Rampage is a longtime friend of my coach's. He's been in our gym all week training and getting ready. He seems great. He's in good spirits. He looks great in training right now. So I'm definitely going to go for Rampage.
Yeah, I actually do quite like Rampage for this fight as well, to be honest. I'm looking forward to it tonight. It'll be about 4 a.m. my time, but you know.
Oh my gosh.
You get used to it, trust me. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So you train at a Combat Do in Chicago, don't you?
No, so Combat Do, I started Combat Do when I was 11 years old. I trained at Combat Do until I was 24. Right. And that's when my husband, who is in the Navy, active duty, we got stationed in San Diego, which is how I got to Liz Carmouche and Alima McFarlane, Bellator star, to their same gym, San Diego Combat Academy, which is also 10th Planet.
Right.
San Diego. And I actually train with Midwest Training Center in Chicago. I've been with Alex Trujillo, who's my head coach since I was 24 when I first moved out there. I absolutely love it here. I stay with my coach when I'm in fight camp and him and his family. I've been here for the last 3 months preparing for this fight. So it's a great. I got a great team out here. A lot of amazing talent up and coming. So there will be several of my teammates in the UFC in the very near future.
Yeah, I was going to ask next because I got it kind of mixed up because I noticed 10th Planet, and then that was when I asked you before we did this if you were on Pacific time or not. Getting all screwed up today. It's not ideal. So who are the people in your gym right now, the up and comers that we need to look out for in the future? I'm always excited to ask people that.
Yes. So David Sachs, who is fighting on TKO the night before my fight in Canada. He will be on Fight Pass. He's fighting on TKO, so he is an amazing athlete. There's also Sultan Omar, who's undefeated. He's 6-0 right now. such a great guy, so dedicated and motivated. I've never seen an athlete this dedicated. In fact, I'm really inspired by him. He's helped me a lot mentally. He meditates 3 hours a day. He's just so focused in his training. I love it. And then we also have Manny Vasquez, 25er, who's fighting tonight on Bellator, the undercard. He's another guy to look out for. And then we have some of our newer pros who are amazing. Like, they're so talented coming into this. Damian Norris, who is also fighting tonight, an amazing striker, such a fun striker. I cornered him 2 weeks ago, and he got this 4 weeks ago, and got an amazing head kick. He's kind of back and forth. He's actually training at Team Alpha Male as well. So he's fighting tonight. He's another great up and coming talent that's coming out.
I'm excited. I do know about Manny Vasquez. I do know a lot about him. The rest of the names, I always write them down afterwards and have a look. So yeah, I'm always quite interested in that. So when will you head out to Buffalo? Will it be end of this week or probably Monday?
We leave Tuesday.
Tuesday, right, okay. And I take it, as you've said, you fought a strawweight. I think the last 3 fights have been a strawweight, is that right?
Yes.
So you're more than comfortable with the cut?
Yes. It's taken me some time. I've actually hired on George Lockhart.
Oh, yeah.
And they will be helping me personally while I'm in Buffalo, preparing all my meals. They'll help me with my weight cut. They'll do my rehydration. They've taken care of everything, which is such a huge load off of my shoulders. I'm looking forward to it. My cut so far has been the best by far. And I'm really looking forward to how this turns out, because I've never had such a great cut.
Excellent. That's always good news. That's definitely good news. So UFC 210 next week. Obviously, we have Cormier and Johnson in the main event. The co-main event, Mousasi and Weidman, and then third from the top, Pearl Gonzalez against Cynthia Calvillo. No reason not to miss this. There's no reason to miss this card, to be honest. I really like the look of this card, and there's some good stuff up and down the prelims as well. So thanks very much for joining us, Pearl. I better let you go, because I know you're sitting in the seat of a car waiting to go into a store.
Yes. Shopping. You know us women.
It's got to be done. You gotta have something to keep you sane. You gotta have something to keep you sane between now and weigh-ins. So let's be honest. So
yes, this is what I do. I shop.
Yeah, we've all got our vices, to be honest. So thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you, Jody. It was so nice to talk to you.
And you're welcome on any time. Good luck for next week. I hope it goes good for you.
Thank you. Looking forward to coming on again.
Excellent.
Great experience.
And Chicago for your next fight. I'm looking forward to that, okay?
Yeah, me too.
Nice one. So we will speak to you again sometime. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.